sure. But where I really kind of surprise people is when I point out, ladies and gentlemen, with CIRMA, it's not that Pike County gets $8 million times 3 or 24 million. You and every CIRMA member combined get $24 million. I've seen the policies. I have copies of the policies. $24 million aggregate limit for all members combined, and that's it. So while I get it, it's expensive to pay ICR&T $470,000. I sure as heck sleep a lot better at night knowing these are my limits. This is my policy that stands behind me. I don't want to be paying CIRMA $370,000 and I have my bad day, one of my employees has their bad day, we file a claim and go on to find out, sorry, with these other counties, they already had bad claims earlier in the year. The money's gone, and you know, it sucks to be you, I guess, but we showed you that in the terms and conditions. To me, that is a major difference between both of them.
So that's happened, or is that just a hypothetical?
That they've been out? Yeah. No, that's not happened.
Okay.
To my knowledge, it hasn't. But I go back.
But
it could. Well, absolutely. It's for you to know with the ICR&T, you folks have $40 million of excess combined. With CIRMA, it's not 24. Every CIRMA member gets $24 million combined. So we're not comparing apples to oranges. We're almost comparing apples to crab apples in a way. And another thing with, I get it, guys, that's a killer rate. And I think they know, if they've done any homework at all, Pike County is going through some tough financial times. I get it, but I'm a firm believer in doing insurance the right way. If I wasn't, I'd give you the advice, just don't buy insurance. For the record, I've never had a courthouse burned down, but I think we all realize that's a very bad advice of me just to tell someone, because it's never happened, we shouldn't do it, you know, from this point forward. You know, it's cutting corners. And I feel some corners have been cut. Last year, one of the founding members of CIRMA left the program. This year, 2 of the founding members of CIRMA voted to accept proposals, and I'm working with one of those counties right now. Not applying at all. CIRMA's not going away next year. They're not going away the year after that. I'm not here to put fear in it like that, but I just want to paint a picture for you folks, and something to keep in mind, because it is the whole rate thing that I think is something. You get the rate for 1 year, you're going to be in for 3 at a minimum. Another thing, they absolutely hate when a member goes out to bid, and they will do everything they can to stop you from doing that. And they do it with black and white in their policy. When you join CIRMA, it's a 3-year commitment. If after that you ever decide to go out to bid, and you decide then to stay with CIRMA, your 3 years starts all over again. So you can imagine how many counties, and I don't want to use strong language, scared, bullet, whatever. It's like, wow, I didn't realize that. So once I'm in, if I do ever want to look at another option, and if you know, the competitors come in higher, and let's face it, here's another thing. There used to be 3 markets for county insurance in Illinois. Bliss McKnight had a program. Mr. Osh is probably familiar with GIE and stuff. For all intents and purposes, I don't know if at the end of this year they're going to insure maybe 1 county left in the state. They've essentially exited the marketplace for county insurance in Illinois. They still do fire protection districts and such. And you had ICR&T and CIRMA. Today you have ICR&T and CIRMA. ICR&T is over 600 members. CIRMA's got 20 some. They definitely want to grow. Every insurance program wants to grow. I want to grow. ICR&T wants to grow. I don't want to say they're desperate, but they definitely want to add members. If you look at their financials for their own audits, and we talked about audits one of the last meetings I was here, there was something, and it wasn't necessarily a negative comment from their auditor, but he brought it up. Over half of the premiums that CIRMA takes in, they have to put right out the door paying their reinsurer. Less than 50 cents of every dollar they actually have to pay claims for the retention that the program is supposed to pay for. In comparison, less than 20% of every dollar the ICR&T brings in has to go out the door to pay a reinsurer for those big catastrophic claims, because they've grown to the size, 60 million of surplus, they can afford to take higher retentions. Here's what that equates in real world. I did a 6-year rate study. Your neighbors, Adams County, are with CIRMA, right next door. They had been for a long time. I've never marketed to them because they've always, indicated they're happy with Surma. If they're happy, I'm happy. We all live to be happy. In 2019, Pike County paid the ICRMT $335,000. In the last 6 policy years, up to the current one, you folks have averaged a 4.43% annual increase. Some years more than 4%, some years less, but that's been your average. And that is translated into this year, you pay $435,000. So even 4.5%, the cost of insurance does go up year over year. We'll do everything we can to keep it affordable while keeping the protections on it. But a 4.5%, you folks went from 335 to 435, roughly 25%, $100,000. Your neighbors, Adams County in 2019, paid Surma $489,000. Their annual rate increases, and all this data, their website has everything. I was able to go on there and take it off from the website. I don't know who the treasurer clerk is over there. They're not feeding me the numbers, all pulled from public data. 489,000. They have a bigger government footprint than you folks. It's not the difference in the money I'm getting at, but you're at 335, they're at 489. Their average increases have been 10.6%. Fast forward to this year, they paid Surma $898,000. That's the difference of what an average of 4.43% and an average of 10.65%. Surma has to capture it, folks. Over half the money they bring in, they have to pay the reinsurer for that policy that taps out for the liability at least at $24 million for every member combined. They are desperate to bring in new revenue. We could say, as an insurance guy, Mr. Ross, I know you could say, Eric, it could be their claims issues. It could. I have no idea what their claims have been. But I do know, I can see the rates of what have increased every single year. Another county we're working with gave me their last 4 years of rates. They're within 2 percentage points of the exact same increases that Adams County did. Another Surma. That's uncanny. They're handing it out. Roughly everybody got a 12% increase this year. Roughly everybody got an 8% increase the year before, 14% the year before that. These are just the facts I'm telling you. It's irrefutable data here. There are differences. I know it sounds wonderful. I know it sounds great. I know it sounds incredible. Our property policy is on blanket. Theirs is on a margin clause. Blanket means the 40-some million dollars of appraised value that you folks have here in Pike County from the jail and the courthouse and the admin and ambulance and everything combined, that's the true limit that matters. So if that administrative building burns down tonight, that we have appraised by professional appraisers for $3 million, and you folks go out to bid to rebuild that, and this does happen all the time. I've seen this. Call me crazy. Public works, public projects, when you're dealing with prevailing wage and all that, it skyrockets. All the time, we've had $3 million buildings on our schedule, total loss, and it costs double that to rebuild it. We just weren't expecting it. Stuff goes up, prevailing wage, you name it, $3 million becomes $6 million all the time. With a blanket policy, hey, we were insuring the blanket of Pike County, 40-some million. That means we show up and short of your deductible, you folks get the $6 million to buy an admin building. Margin costs, what's that mean? 115%. That means if you have a building insured for $3 million and it burns down, you only get 115% of that amount. Someone that's better at math than me, or $3,450,000, that's it. If it costs you $6 million to rebuild it, sorry guys, you're on 115% margin clause. The policy is filled with differences like this. Some small, some big, some I'm just splitting hairs. But the big ones, as far as the commitment, that's a big one. When one founding member left last year, 2 more are looking for this year, and we can see what type of rate increases they're handing out. I'm not saying they're going to come back next year with a 30%, just the Surma averages. You guys know what you've got with the ICRT for the previous, you've been members for 29 years. You can look at all that. It's been less than what Surma's handing out. In 3 years, you'll be right back. I don't want to lose your business. In 3 years, I'd love to have you back, but the way their program is tailored, That's next to impossible to do because they'll put the fear of God in you. We might not send you an insurance renewal. They did with one of these other counties. They're a proud ICRT member today. They played hardball with them. That county called the bluff. The first year, 23, they were going to go out to bid, and they got spooked by CIRMA, and they rescinded, and they didn't let me quote it. Last year they did. They followed through. They're now a proud member. I'm working with another one right now. But the travesty in this isn't losing you folks for a few years and then, the rate savings completely disappear. It's that next year will be you folks' 30th year in the ICRT. And while I'd hate to lose you, you folks have worked to build that $250 million of assets, and that it's over $60 million in surplus right now compared to CIRMA's 6. And it went down last year due to what I just talked about. You guys would be walking away from all of that. And when any member comes back to the program, it's you're starting off from all over. So when the credits are given out, last credit was during COVID. This was before ARPA was even a term. We didn't, back in early COVID, and we didn't know if the government was going to bail us out. The ICRT issued credits. In Pike County's case, it was like $30,000 based on your years of service and that. You folks walk away from all that member equity. That's the travesty I look at this, is not only we're going from having good protective insurance in the county to having our names just tacked onto a big master policy that in our time of need, we can find out it's gone, but we're leaving all that equity that we built into making the ICRT a strong program. You folks would have most likely been one of the first 20 members of the ICRT 29 years ago. And here they are today at over 600 because they have cities, villages, schools, townships. So those are just some of the things. I've talked too long, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your time. I can assure you there are many, many differences. I hope I've made some impacts on there's some big elephants in the room. The 92,000 is just a part of it. If you want to get a little closer, I can whittle down the excess. So we're comparing exactly what someone would be. I'm never going to whittle down to put y'all on a master policy. I don't want to go to my client, Schuyler County, and say, hey, sorry, you're having bad claims, but Morgan and Pike and Perry County already had bad claims for the year, so now yours is gone. I believe in doing it the right way. And the right way isn't not insuring a courthouse because I've never had one burned down. The right way is recognizing, we need to take adequate protections to protect the county. The reason the tort levy doesn't have a maximum rate on that, maximum levy, it's certainly not so Eric Snetter gets to walk in here and expect a blank check from you folks. It's not. But I thoroughly believe it's so that we can recognize this and insure the right way to protect the county. Let's, you hear the term throwing good money after bad. And I really think in a lot of ways, that's a lot of money we're throwing to CIRMA and getting a small portion of the protections that the ICRT is providing. So if we want to bring down some of our limits and stuff, I can assure you we'll still be a much stronger program in policy form. But I'd like to keep you where you're at. I want protection out there. If anything, my clients are saying you need to look to identify larger than $10 million policies because settlements and jury verdicts are going above that in this day and age. So I kind of say that facetiously. I don't want you to drop your excess. I don't want you to drop even $1 million. I'll do whatever it takes. I want to keep you guys as a client. We take pride in providing good services. I'm not here to talk disparaging of CIRMA, but there's the devil's in the details. And I appreciate your time. I'd be happy to take any questions.
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys got any questions? No. Okay, I would entertain a motion to recommend CIRMA to the full board as our new insurance carrier for 2026.
Before I do that, Walker, where was the 3-year? All I saw was the policy was going for 1 year. And then,
Yeah, well, all the quotes are for 1 year, and that's right, because that was what was asked to quote. I believe, again, it's been a couple weeks since I talked to somebody from Adams County on this. That was when I was talking about my counterparts up there. They indicated that it was 3 years.
Wait. So you didn't find the 3 years, you just decided to bring that up? I need to be clear on what's going on here. Mr. Snedeker is saying there's a 3-year. Now you're saying there's a 3-year, but that's not really what's in there. Is that correct?
Well, I wasn't done yet, okay? I answered the question. I couldn't find it in here.
Okay.
Because it's a 1
Right.
But something came up, and when he mentioned Adams County, that was the conversation I had with somebody from Adams County, because I know that they're a Sermon client, and they mentioned a 3-year commitment.
Okay.
It's in the bylaws, Mr. Ross.
Okay,
I've read it multiple times.
and I don't have access to the bylaws.
I don't either.
And the only reason I brought up the question is because that was something that was floating there in the back of my head. And I was asking you if you knew any further on that, because that's what my recollection was.
And Mr. Ross, I forgot to bring up the unemployment. I apologize. That is in your proposal. The ICRT started the unemployment program almost a decade ago. They saved the members millions in doing that, because when you go through unemployment from the state, there's an automatic fund building rate. The ICRT, it cost you folks roughly $25,000 a year last year with the rate that the ICRT gives you. If you go back to the state of Illinois, you will likely be coded as a new employer because your mod is no longer with them. That rate is roughly 3 times the size. So another thing to budget, sir, 25,000, and I think it'll be closer to $75,000 for the unemployment. So I know you're looking at the property liability work comp, but you also do unemployment through the ICRT and have saved tens of thousands. That would be going away. You would be going back to the state of Illinois, and just to factor that in as well. So it's a lot of the price difference isn't. I don't believe, sir, it's there. What you believe is there. I don't see it, and losing a lot of protections and a lot of coverages. I'm unaware. The unemployment. That wasn't something that was out for bid. When we included
were
with ICRT, sir. So if you leave the ICRT, they don't sell unemployment as monoline. It's only for the clients that stay with the ICRT for liability and comp. So you didn't bid it out, but your policy will be terminated because you no longer be a member. So you're correct. Then you have the choice. You go back to the state of Illinois, where a new employer rate is 3.65 versus, it's in the quote, the ICRT unemployment rate for next year is around 1.335%. So at 1.335%, it's costing you roughly $25,000 a year. So if that triples, there's an extra $50,000 right there for unemployment. New employers, when they go to the state of Illinois, it's 3 years to establish the mod. So that's how they treat you, and I believe that is how they would do it, because you've not had a mod with them since prior to 2017.
you believe.
You joined the ICRT unemployment January 1st, 2017. I believe that's the first year they've offered it. So you've not been directly associated with the state of Illinois unemployment program that's administered through IDES since 2017.
Okay.
So there's an additional 50,000 out there, in addition to the easily 10,000 we can save on excess. If you want to compare apples to apples, just on excess.
And so, Mr. Chairman, just to complete my thought,
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and vote or recommendation however you wish, and between now and the full board meeting at the end of the month, I'll try to get a definitive answer from the person I was talking to Adams County with.
Okay.
If that is, if I can get something in writing to present to you, that says, if you do go that way, it's a 3-year commitment.
That would be fine, and then I'll try and get a hold of IDES and find out what is going on with that. I wasn't aware that, I guess that we changed our unemployment to ICRMT, nor,
Almost a decade ago.
I wasn't here a decade ago.
When we had an opportunity to change, we did.
Hmm.
At the time our before I started TV, they set up being 1.1 savings roughly $15,000 a year for the last 9 years.
I see.
Do you think we could get a CIRMA rep?
Yeah,
Numbers?
yeah, I can go ahead and get a hold of a CIRMA rep and see if they can also come and present at the board meeting, I suppose, if we need to, or hold another insurance committee meeting.
Well, I'd rather do that before we recommend anything,
That would be fine then.
because the details are,
Would it be possible to schedule a another meeting next Tuesday before the budget meeting? And
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Let's do that and
You want to do that?
I would feel more comfortable, because I was looking on their website, I can't find their bylaws in here on the website, so.
Right.
And I will say that we did have 2 individual companies ask us about quoting that, and you guys had put that out for bid, so there was nothing to quote for it. So, I mean, there were 2 companies that were looking at that knowing that CERMA does not quote that.
quote what, Natalie?
Quote your.
Oh.
I suppose when we put the bids out, everything was included in the bid packet, so I wasn't aware. I'll just have to call them. I'll find out. So then we will table the recommendation at this point. But I have made some notes here. So any other discussion for anything?
So since we received these bids, there's no adjusting of the rates, right? We don't have time to rebid.
Yeah,
Can you sharpen your pencil a little bit?
no, he's already bid it.
That's what I'm saying.
Wait, we already got the quotes. I'm not going to play that game. I do appreciate you being very detailed on this stuff. I wish I would have been present to hear all those details when we went to the Hope Trust.
I wish we would have heard the details before it was time to make a decision on making a recommendation. Once again, we're in a position where we're ready to make a vote, and it seems like we get a lot of new information really fast right here. Like, I read through this thing, I saw 1 year policy from whatever the page says, 25 to 26. And
Well, I think whoever's trying to sell you something ought to be here.
that's true too.
Well, I didn't ask either.
And,
Yeah, it seemed that the dollars and cents pretty much did it for me. Lower deductibles and a couple of other things, and it appeared.
well, it looks good, but I got questions.
And that's great. So let's go ahead and get the questions. Maybe if you guys want to type something up too, and other questions that we might have. You guys are more than welcome to type up whatever questions, and I'll get them answered, and then we'll go ahead and do another final presentation. But again, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. It's a $92,000 difference, and we are definitely in a budget crunch right now. And any money we have to continue spending in one direction is less money we have to use someplace else. So,
Yeah, I agree. Even if we got a 10% increase over the next 3 years, then that would put us right where we're at pricing on RMT right now, but depends on what other things we're gonna have to insure to.
yeah, and as it's been pointed out before, when we talked about the truth in taxation, every little bit helps. So anywhere we can save a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, every little bit's going to help. So, alrighty. Any other comments from press or visitors? Yes, ma'am.
I sent you an email on flu shots. Did you guys read that?
You sent an email on what?
Flu shots?
Flu shots, yes.
Did you read that?
I'm sorry, I did not, because I was thinking it was just the annual employees can get a flu shot.
Yes.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that wording. I wanted you to read that. If we're going to bill their insurance, but if for some reason a county employee doesn't have insurance, or their spouse or their child, in the past, we have had county pay for it. So
Does that have to do with the property casualty bid?
this has to do with insurance. The insurance committee used to discuss flu shots for county employees. That's why I'm at this meeting.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, the health insurance was specifically not put on, or those benefits were not put on this agenda.
there has been an insurance committee meeting, so I don't know how to get to an insurance committee meeting to discuss this. So that's why I'm here in public comment. So I don't know how to go about this, so I'm just asking.
So what is it you need to know?
So you're asking if the county would cover the cost of the flu shots for anyone without insurance?
Correct.
I mean, I would be inclined to say no.
Well, I mean, when would they get the flu shot? I mean, we're trying to finish this fiscal year out, so if that was the arrangement up until the end of
I
November.
don't know what to tell employees because it's always been better if they aren't. I just need to know what to tell them when they come in to get their flu shot, if they don't have insurance or,
How much is a flu shot if you don't have insurance?
a flu shot is $40, but I think there's a program they can go through where you just get administration of the flu shot, which is like $23, so.
And do you know how many times that happens on an annual basis?
Yeah, last year, I don't think we had to bill the county anything. I think everybody, we billed their insurance and everything was covered.
Okay.
I don't know, this year, if employees, I don't know if someone comes in and doesn't have insurance. You
If
know.
it's not a big issue and it's not
It's-
something that costs us a bunch of money, I'd say they should be able to take care of it. I mean,
Well, I just, anything we have in place right now until the end of November, I think we continue going. I mean, we're still in the same fiscal year, and we're still operating under the same programs and plans that were in place at the beginning of December of last year. So if they're going in prior to November 30th, I believe that they're going to be covered as if they would have prior.
I always just get it confirmed.
Okay.
Here,
But-
I just go on.
I appreciate you bringing it up because I don't know that will be the case after December 1st. But I can say that if we're completing out this fiscal year the way it is under the current programs that are already in place, then yeah, I believe that.
I just like to get confirmation every flu season.
Okay, fair enough.
I like to know the status quo.
Thank you, Paul. Any other discussion? All right, motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Jim, second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, 6:14. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll call the budget meeting to order. It is 6:14. Scott, would you mind doing the
You
invocation?
can get that lady here. I don't know if I can get her here. I'll see if I can get him here. At least he's out of Chicago, so that.
There's a comment on the TV.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Did you get that fixed?
I believe I did. Have you tried it again, Mark? It worked on my phone, but I shut it off real quick because
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm already set up. If you don't mind, I'll.
Hey, Donna.
What's that? I just usually set it aside.
Okay, Scott, if you want to come on up.
Rise, I'll do the invocation.
Oh, jeez, sorry.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to gather together to conduct the business of the county. Just ask that you give them wisdom and understanding of that wisdom, Lord, to help them to make the best decision for the citizens of Pike County. We give you all the glory and the honor and the praise. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do you want to do the roll call or you want me to?
No, Andy's out for
Andy Bartley.
Here.
Joey Cox.
Here.
John Foster. Rita Hopkins.
Here.
Derek Ross.
Here.
Lance Kinder.
Here.
Mark Mountain.
Here.
Tom Lewis.
here.
Jim Shepherd.
Here. Mine is working, man.
Oh, great, thanks, Mark. Okay. With that, it's my intent that we go into closed session And if that is approved, I would stop the streaming and then start it up again when we return. And the purpose of the closed session is to discuss a few items that deal with the union negotiations underway. Do I have a motion for closed session? Joey, any second? Second, Lance, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Do you want to do a roll call vote?
Yep.
No.
Andy Barker,
Nay.
Joey Cobb,
What are we doing?
Voting on whether to go into closed session.
Well, I made the motion, I gotta be, yay.
Don Foster. Nay. I'm sorry. Nay. Nay. Derek Ross.
Nay. I don't need to go.
Yay.
Mark Ryan.
Nay.
Jim Shepherd.
Nay.
Tom Lewis.
Nay.
Who seconded that, Lance?
I do have one comment or question. Why wasn't this brought to the chairman of the labor board? Why you want to discuss this and why wasn't it brought to the labor committee? That's what our job is as a labor board and committee. Why wasn't it brought to us?
Because I view it as a finance issue. We're talking about money.
This is a labor issue. It's not a finance issue, it's a labor issue. That's why we have a labor committee and a labor attorney. And that's where it needs to start.
Well, let me just say, I did,
I think you are going behind our back if you do this that way and not let the labor committee do their job.
let me just say, I talked with our attorney. He had the suggestion that we go into closed session to discuss this. I'm not trying to go behind anybody's back. And actually, if he did think it was best we discuss it in private, but if you want to discuss it in public, I'm perfectly fine with doing that
Under
now.
the labor law and in the labor committee, it's a whole different situation than an open public meeting. So you need to discuss that part of it with our labor attorney. We need to have a labor committee meeting with our attorney. Plain and simple. We need to get this started so that we can get it going. And I think Mr. Mountain, as chairman, can make that committee, call the date and get a meeting started. And I think he needs to do that.
Why not discuss it tonight?
Madam Chair, as Labor Committee Chairman, I realize things aren't like they usually are, and you're in charge, and that's fine. That's your call. And the way I understand it, from what I've read, you can supersede my authority as Chairman of the Labor Committee. But in doing so, I think it should be reorganized as the way I read it, and I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. I'd like Mr. Walker's opinion on what I'm getting ready to say. As chairman of the Pike County Board, you also can chair a committee. And if you're going to control what goes on, then I suggest that I be voted off of that or removed, however that needs to take place, and you need to be put on as chairman of the Labor Committee. Because as we're doing it right now is not working. And yes, negotiations are exempt from the Opens Meeting Act. We found that out last year or the year before. Yeah, 3 years ago. So it's handled completely different. Usually, the Labor Committee asks the chairman, who is a part of the Labor Committee, as ex officio, and we recommend a full board closed session to update the members on negotiations at the proper time. That's how I'm used to doing it. And that's how our labor attorney has categorized it, those steps in the past. And I realize you can change things. I realize that. You have that authority. But as we're going right now is not working, and we're not moving forward one bit whatsoever. So that's just my opinion. I'd like Mr. Walker's opinion. That's it.
As unaccustomed as I am to speaking in public, I will try to answer your question as best I can. Rule number one, chairman's the chairman, person in this case, woman, however you want to be addressed, and the chairman of the board can set the agenda. So that's number one. Number two, and you're right, it's been long practice in Pike County that we have a labor committee. And the way it works is whenever, after an election and the board is reconstituted, and one of the first things they do in the reorganization is set out the committees. And so when that happened last December, the labor committee was reconstituted, and so we have a labor committee. And so the way that works is that to the extent that we have issues, finance issues go through finance, labor issues go through labor committee, agricultural issues go through agriculture, building and highway go through building and highway, et cetera, et cetera. And that's where all the, as I call it, that's where all the heavy lifting takes place. Again, there was absolutely nothing wrong with Madam Chairwoman putting this item on the agenda tonight. The board has expressed its will, but if there's a labor committee, it's kind of, good practice to go through the labor committee. And that's the way we've done it around here. Without being prepped to give a more detailed answer on that, it all comes back to what the board wants to do. You can go one way or you can go the other way. And it is true that a chairperson can actually chair a subcommittee if they so choose, because the chairperson sets the committees after the reorganization. And it's also true that any member of a committee, if they don't want to be on the committee anymore, they can get off the committee basically by resignation from that committee. So it's whatever you want to do. What I would recommend is that at some point in time, somebody meet, because I've heard that various stakeholders have had different conversations with our labor attorney, and that's probably not a good idea. It's probably a good idea to have one point of focus, and when it's in a labor committee situation with less than the full board, you don't have to worry about open meeting act stuff. When we're in a full board situation, you have to have a reason to go into closed session, and that's a valid reason to do it. But so again, that's a long way of saying it's whatever you guys decide to do.
So, Mark, I don't understand. So you wanted this to go through your committee
Yes,
first?
yes, which involves the chairman.
Did the attorney contact you or not?
I talked to him last Tuesday.
So he didn't recommend the labor committee meet or?
He recommended I get the ball rolling if at all possible.
Oh. Do we need to?
Well, I think we agree he's wanting us to get the ball rolling. What he said to me was that basically he needs three things. One is he wants to know about our revenue. Two, he wants to know what we're willing to pay as far as the health insurance. When I say what we're willing to pay, what we envision the county covering as opposed to the employees themselves. And then three, what we're willing to offer as raises. And those are the three things that I hoped we could have a closed session about tonight. I'm not opposed necessarily to a labor meeting other than it delays us more. I was hoping to leave here tonight with something we can give him on those three issues, because as I understand what he intends to do is to contact the union representatives and start, looking at offers back and forth. And the other thing, I say again, as far as labor versus us talking about it here, certainly, you can have a committee meeting, but I don't see anything wrong with discussing it before the full board. As we all know, we need to be, when we give him numbers, we need to be confident that it's something the board will approve in the end. I don't think we want to give him something that just the labor committee has approved, because we don't know what might happen. The other thing, I don't see how the labor committee can decide those three numbers
Madam Chair?
without,
We do not decide.
Two out of the three questions, the board has provided, just like the county's portion, we provide that most years in what, September?
Yeah.
That's already provided in September. And that's usually long, in a contract year, that's long before contract negotiations even start. And as far as the percentage raises, in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, we always talked about that in an open budget meeting. And decided those two things. And then the what we're willing to give for a raise side of it was, again, talked in budget meetings and negotiated across the table with FOP. And at the appropriate time, we brought that to the full board.
so
Because
you're
that's in
saying
the-
those
that's part
things
of
were,
negotiations.
you're saying those things were discussed at budget meetings?
Yes.
In the past, yes.
Oh, yes.
So are you okay with doing that now?
Well, I was gonna say, we always set we're behind on setting the employer share of health insurance. We usually did that in September. And yeah, we always, kind of looked at what we could afford, which generally when we talked about it in budget hearings, the CPI was usually the driving factor. Consumer price index, whatever the rate of inflation was, that was what we knew we couldn't get away with probably any less than that for an offer. So that was kind of the thing. And then we would sit there and talk about whether we're going to do a percentage increase or a flat per employee. And we couldn't answer all three of those questions in closed session anyway, because all that's mentioned in the citation here is salaries.
And also, as far as the wage increase for FOP, for an example, just an example, and this is example only. Let's say FOP come to the table and said, we want a 3-year contract, we want 4.33. And then we might go to our separate rooms and discuss it, and we might, for an example, come back and say, how about a 3.34? Or how about whatever combination of them all. But that's a negotiation item, and that always happens across the table. Now, we can give them an idea. Yes, we can definitely give them an idea. But there may be a language change, trade for a % or something. There's all kinds of things that goes on. They might.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, they might
Well, would
just
you
like
be
some
okay
language and willing
then?
to give a % for it.
Would you be okay then, just listening to you? Would you be okay talking about those three things tonight so we can give him an idea?
Of course.
And then we can schedule, if you want
Yeah.
a labor meeting, we'll schedule it with, and have him there if he can.
Yes, and that's how we've did it in the past. That's how all state negotiations that I've been involved with has been. Those are what you negotiate at the table. The % raise for FOP. The % raise for FOP and the % raise for the non-union employees has nothing to do with each other and everything to do with each other,
I agree.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll just say, I feel like the chairman made her intentions pretty clear to have a closed session on this subject at the last county board meeting. So, like, we probably could have discussed it in some form before tonight. Made it clear that we wanted to have a labor board meeting before there's a closed session.
At the last meeting, I was gonna call, I told everybody I was gonna call a labor meeting. But then the sheriff had knee surgery, and he's a vital part of the labor committee and negotiations. So I decided to give him some recovery time.
That's fine. I just mean, it sounded like we were kind of caught off guard with some stuff about the closed session when, like I said, she announced it at the end of last month's meeting that she wanted to have a closed session, so just,
Yeah.
like I said, like I mentioned at the end of last meeting, it seems like we keep waiting till the moment of to
Well,
bring a bunch of new information to light.
the three things that he's asking for, the attorney, I mean, I would first want to know if he's okay us discussing that, in public.
I'd say 2 of the 3, he's definitely okay with, because that's how we've did with negotiations many times before.
You don't want to get ahead of, in front of him with what he's doing. So
Yeah, but.
I can see why you'd want to discuss it private.
Yeah,
you
the
know.
insurance, what the county's gonna pay for insurance has never been an issue.
Never been a closed session issue.
No, never been. And as far as the % raise that we are thinking about giving FOP, that's always been across the table. And the employees, the raise we're gonna give the employees has always been in an open meeting across the table. So I don't feel like we're holding back any information.
Well-
Andy, do you remember? You were there. Tom, do you remember? Anything different than that?
No, the thing of it is, with your labor attorney's going to come in and tell you what's going on with the rest of the state. What he has seen in negotiations, because he's got so many of the counties. And he's going to tell you what he sees. And basically what the FOP is probably going to come in. He's very valuable. I wouldn't.
To any of y'all's recollection, have we been in this financial condition when going into contract negotiations?
Not like this.
No,
Not like this.
Not like this.
So I'm not trying to start an argument with you guys, but I understand completely where the chairman's coming from, wanting to discuss some budgetary guardrails before going into negotiations. I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think I'm not.
That,
Thing is too, and
that discussion's always been handled in a labor committee meeting.
And we always met with Rhett, well, the last time we met with Rhett, prior to having a labor, even starting negotiations. We
Yeah.
went in, we talked to him, and told him what we wanted, and he thought what he was gonna get,
Absolutely.
and he just laid it all out before we even stepped in front of the FOP.
Yeah, and I understand that completely. I just think for the same reason that we're discussing having this meeting right now and not leaving it to a finance committee meeting, you can use the same logic to say, let's just discuss this at the full budget meeting. That way, the labor committee don't come to the full board and say, hey, here's all these deals, and then we've got all these questions, and then once again, time is of the essence, and we're wasting more time. So I think we could have discussed some of that in closed session. You guys could have said your piece on wanting what you wanted to have the labor committee for, and everything could have moved on without delaying anything any further. I think everybody's wanting to get things done as quick as possible.
I
I don't know.
I appreciate all the comments. I'm not sure I'm hearing a lot of disagreement on where we all want to be. So I'm asking again, are we okay with going forward with right now talking about the revenue? I mean, we talked about it last week. I'm hoping we could come to some consensus, not that it has to be final, but some consensus on the revenue numbers. Stepping back for a minute from the union negotiations, if we are going to stay on track with the schedule we set up, we need to have some consensus on the revenue numbers for the truth in taxation posting. If we're still going to have that meeting on the 22nd, like we planned, then I believe I have to have it in the county paper by, for next week. It says no more than 14 days and no less than 7. It has to be posted. And the posting format that they give you is, includes numbers. You have to list what the number was last year and what we're looking at for the coming year. And again, obviously, it's not a final number. I mean, if it were, there wouldn't be any purpose in having a hearing for public comment, but
Walker?
Yeah,
Doesn't the truth in taxation have to be pretty much your final number? I mean, I've only did one, and it was the final number, so.
Yeah, let's step back because the way that it ideally is supposed to kind of work, and Adams County does this, for example, is they start working up their revenue number in June, and then they have it firmed up by September, and if they need a truth in taxation, they have it in September. That's kind of like a really nice way of doing it. So let's just throw that out the window, because that's not what we're doing here. In fact, we've never done it that way here. So the drop dead date is the end of December. Okay? Whatever levy that you have, and if it exceeds 105% of the prior year levy, then it's an absolute you have to have a truth in taxation. If it doesn't, then you don't. Okay? So, but the drop dead date is the end of December. There's a formula there. Last year, it just happened to be the December 31st, which was nice because that was the absolute last time. So, like, for example, last year, we could have had a truth in taxation hearing in December, and if that had gone through, then we would have been good to go, because that final number has to be in the county clerk's office by the end of December. So there's, the way I'm looking at it, there's no way you're going to hit October 22nd, because to do that, the board would have to reach a number tonight, because in order to get it published in the paper, you're going to have to get it to the paper by next Monday.
yes.
Which is before, and I don't think we're anywhere, this is just me talking, I don't think we're anywhere near getting a good number to present at a truth in taxation hearing. So we have time. That's another way of saying that. We have time. We have time. It's just that you have to kind of have the rest of the budget kind of firmed up so it can be published no later than November 7th. And then, of course, changes can be made up until the time that you actually vote on it with the final number on November 24th. But, again, just like last year, if the levy that is passed, if you wanted to do a change in something that went over the 105%, you'd still have a very small window of time to have a truth in taxation hearing in December. Or you can get your revenue number firmed up sometime in November and have the truth in taxation in November before the final vote. But usually, the way the finance committee did it when I was there, which, you're free to do it any way you want, but we had Cleve Curry and Mike Bourne were on the committee with me, and we always, I know some of you think this is back-assward, but we always built the expense side and figured out what we needed, and then we started plugging in the levy to meet that. And if, after plugging all that in, if we were over 105%, we would have had to have a truth in taxation. Fortunately, we never had to do that the 2 years that I was on the board, and we were just fine. But so again, October 22nd for a truth in taxation, I don't think is realistic.
Well, it depends on whether you believe it has to be a final number. I'm viewing it that it's a proposed number, and we're trying to obtain public comment on it.
Yeah, but if the actual number then
I
is,
don't think we know enough to do it, is what, we've got well over half the general fund offices to present. I haven't seen highways budget, I haven't seen the health department's budget.
Well,
I think if we're holding a truth and taxation hearing on the 22nd, we're just doing it for practice. Also, I think the posting requirement is different if you have a website. And we may already be too late. If not, it's tomorrow or the next day. So I think you have to be 2 weeks. But it's something I read in an email over the summer that they just changed that law.
yeah, I mean, that's I'm not going to go there. That's another argument where,
I think it's 30 days.
yeah,
Okay.
that's, But having said that, though, getting back to the original question, is that, we have time. We have time. And if you're going to do a truth and taxation here, you only want to do it once with a number that's pretty firm. You don't want to come in with a loosey-goosey number.
Well, I don't think it is a loosey-goosey number. I mean, we went through the revenue last week. We can review it again tonight, but, we need to get pretty firm. We've got to publish the budget by November 7th. What?
It's absolutely a loosey-goosey number.
Why do you say that?
We haven't discussed any of the budgets except for general fund, and only part of that to make up the tax levy.
well,
It's based on pure conjecture of one board member. Well,
That-
maybe several, but there's no proof of that.
well, I'm not sure if I'm the board member, but I went ahead and just put the max in at the 0.37. That would give us $1.5 million of revenue. That takes our 5.4 in revenue that I had last week up to the 5.6, basically 5.645. I currently have $5,451,000 reported to me by departments, and I'm missing about $1.2 million of expenses waiting to get here from departments. So you guys can talk about semantics and rules or whatever you want, but the expenses that I'm seeing right now from the departments are going to be about 6.7 million, and we've got 5.6 in revenue. So there you go. And that's maxing out. If we go ahead and have our truth in taxation and cap it out at the 0.37, That's all we're getting unless there's revenue that somebody's not telling me. So that's what I see.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the whole levy. Road and bridge, IMRF, social security, liability, all those funds we haven't talked about yet.
Well, I don't disagree, but that number has nothing to do with how our general fund's gonna operate. That's
No,
not
but
gonna help
has
us
that-
on our
when
1
We're
point.
talking about truth and taxation. They're all part of the truth and taxation, the 105%. As you said last week, it's a balloon.
Right.
And we're only talking about a little part of that balloon.
So, no, I don't just, I got the numbers from Chris. I think I've got highway in. I know the health department's waiting to see what we're going to do with that.
Okay, we haven't seen highway. Again, one board member.
The spreadsheet's shared. I mean, it's out there for anybody to look at whenever they want to. So
Not
I,
available on my OneDrive. Maybe it's me.
You said your main reasoning for getting the truth and taxation out early is to get public input on the numbers we're proposing?
Yes, and
So-
I'm obviously, I didn't set up my computer because I thought we'd be switching rooms. I wish I could check the statute again, but I thought the intent was to have the truth and taxation before we finalize the budget.
Yeah, well, I mean, under my understanding of things, there's no reason we couldn't have a budget meeting and get public's input with our proposed numbers without it being a truth and taxation. We don't have to call it a truth and taxation to get the information you're looking for at this point.
That's true.
So I would say save the truth and taxation, like Walker said, do it once, put our proposed budget out there. It doesn't have to be in a truth and taxation hearing. Get the feedback you want, we can make our changes, and then we have our truth and taxation once we're more in agreement on the number.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I will say though, and I understand we might have a truth and taxation hearing and no one come. I know how those public meetings can be. But let's say there are people out there who want to provide input. I just don't see the point in having a truth and taxation after we know what the final number is, after we've voted on it.
Well, it all depends on if you're, because I don't know the final number. If you're over 105%, you have to have it. If you're under 105%, you don't.
and to that point, our EAV went up 6.9%. So unless we want to be under 5%, we're going to have to actually cut what we levied. So I don't see any way we're not going to have a truth in taxation just because of the EAV increase.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that it's having a truth and taxation. I'm just saying that we have to have it October 22nd.
I don't think we-
That's just the date that we had previously set.
Yeah, okay.
As a board.
That's the only point I was trying to make.
I think that's the date you said. I don't know that we said it.
No, we did it in the board meeting.
Okay, I'm not gonna argue with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Need me any more on that issue? We're
Well-
talking revenue.
It still doesn't change the fact that Rhett is wanting information about what we expect to have in revenue to start the negotiations. He feels that's a starting point.
Well, sounds like you have a number there.
I was thinking you have the number. I mean, Derek just said what the revenue number was, and he told you what the expense number was. So we
Well,
know that part of it. So
If,
that's an easy one to give to me.
if
Next
we're
thing, we need
willing,
Insurance of what we're going to pay.
if we're willing, or if we have a consensus among all of us that we're going to raise the property tax rate to the max.
I don't see where you can't raise it to the max. I mean, you're gonna have to raise it to the max, and we're still gonna have a shortfall. Very likely. So, and I know nobody wanted to do it last year, but if we'd have done it last year and we've done it again this year, we'd have been closer to where we should be. Now, and that's over with, last year's over. We gotta work this year. But yeah, I agree that our maximum rate is gonna have to be the max. And Derek's numbers is, I mean, what he's showing us right now is showing that we're gonna still be $1 million.
Roughly.
In the hole.
Roughly.
So,
I agree.
So that number is easy to give direct, not a problem. The insurance,
But-
we gotta figure, the insurance needs to figure out what their thought is on what they wanna, the county wants to pay.
And that's why I wanted to wait, because if we're $1 million in the hole and we'll say, well, now we're going to raise the insurance 10%. Well, if we paid 800,000, now there's another 80. So now we're $1.080 million in the hole. I mean, we can continue adding what we want, but it's just, where do we get the revenue to pay for it? So,
I agree.
okay.
But the thing is too, under FOP contract, there is limits that you can raise that rate.
But that's under this contract that ends at the end of November.
But that's something,
It-
something that would have to be negotiated in or out.
It
It
doesn't,
would be done through our labor.
it doesn't end unless you have a new agreement.
Yes.
It keeps on going.
That keeps on going until your agreement is settled.
And that comes to the next issue, which is what I was trying to bring up when I was asking some questions about 4 weeks ago, is we're running out of time because we're kind of in the trick bag here. The board really needs to decide what that number is for the health insurance that the employees are going to be required to pay, because you need that number for the negotiation, which Mr. Barkey's asking for, but more importantly, you need that number before the end of the month, because we're in open enrollment right now, and the employees have to know 60 days ahead. It might even be, I don't know, I'm not expert on federal law. Mr. Barkey would probably know better than I, but I mean, we're running real fast into some hard brick walls that decisions have to be made so that employees can start making their elections on what they're going to choose for their health insurance. And so, yeah, that's a critical number that needs to be decided, and whether the chair is going to have that discussed in an insurance committee or going to be discussed at a board meeting, which it could be discussed tonight. But the unfortunate thing is you can't take any action on it tonight because there are no action items on the agenda tonight. But at some point, here it is, October 7th.
I don't think we need to take any action on it tonight. We just need to get some consensus of where we want to head with that.
Well,
I mean, for example, one option on the table is the employees pay the increase.
okay, great. But all I'm saying is that you need to have a firm decision before the end of this month. The employees have to be given firm options. They can't be given estimate options. They have to be given firm options of what they're going to enroll for next year. And so they need to know what this board decision is on what they're going to have to pay. And that needs to happen between now and, well, before October 31st, because you're going to have to give the clerk time to get the information to the employees, and the employees have to have enough time to turn it around.
So instead of wringing our hands, let's discuss it. Let's decide.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying, but when are you going to decide it?
I want to come away tonight with a feeling of consensus among this group of what we think the county and the employees should pay.
Okay, well, I'll get out of the way then.
Not ask, don't go anywhere. You're
Do you
fine.
have a number from the insurance committee that you guys have an idea what it's gonna cost?
The total premium went to about 1.6. I had budgeted, we spent about, I think it was around an $800,000 is what I've calculated the county is responsible for. And that's after the departments pay their part, okay?
What was that figured in there?
800,000. So in my mind, if we take the 10% increase, it's going to go up 80 grand. Now that's also, that could be a wash potentially. Well, not quite, but I was going to say we've got the HSA out there, which respectfully, that's a heck of a rich plan. I mean, you get a $1,650 deductible, and we're giving them $1,800 of free cash in an HSA. So, I mean, that was one thing I I talked about in July, and we said, let's wait until the open enrollment. Let's wait until we talk about the budget. Okay, well, here we are. So that's potentially some numbers that we could save. But it would cost us probably another $80,000 to cover our 10%. And then if we want to continue doing the HSA. So that's, I didn't want to obligate the county and say, you're just going to have to pay the 80. The other thing that, and to the contract thing where you said it's not done until it's done, I've actually thought in my head, could we renew it for a year? Since it seems like we're just in a time crunch, could we say, hey, could we just renew the current contract for one more year so we could kind of figure out where we are financially for this next year? Because there's definitely going to be some changes, growing pains, and I don't know if we'll have the right answer the first try.
I don't know how well 1 year would fly with them.
Okay, then,
I don't know how well it flies. And maybe would, maybe wouldn't,
okay.
but
That wouldn't make sense if we were gonna do that, we just wouldn't come to the table negotiating, like Walker said, it would just carry on until we do.
And the thing is if we push this out long negotiating with FOB, we're paying. Plus that. It's a sticky situation,
Okay.
and I
And I just throwing it out there. So let's assume that's not an option.
That just kind of reiterates the point that we made earlier, though, is we need to focus on the finances. The negotiations will take what they need to take. I mean,
Well, so that, to that point, if we said, okay, we're only going to raise the FOP employees the 10%, but we don't pass, the other employees have to take the whole, 5%. And that's never, it seems really strange to me that you have a union of this little group that is negotiating for the rest of the county, it sounds like. And that doesn't seem right, but if that's how it is, that's how it is, but.
it's that language. It's that contract. It's that language in the contract.
So the language is saying that they pay what the other employees pay.
Says same, yeah.
Right, but it doesn't, well, so if we say we aren't, but you have to do the 10%, but it doesn't say we have to do the 10% for all employees. So if the other employees that aren't in the union are paying $1,000 or $100 a pay, and the FOP only has to pay 85, I don't think they're going to come back, as I think somebody pointed out, they're not going to come back and say, well, wait a minute, everybody else is paying 100, we want to pay 100. So is that an option? Because that's going to make a difference on what we are going to have to pay in benefits. And so I'm not saying exactly what way is right or wrong. I'm just saying we've got roughly $1 million. We've got to try and whittle down a little bit at a time. And I didn't want to obligate the county to say, no, everybody's going to get a 10%. And that's what it is. If that's what we end up doing, then so be it. I'd still like to know where the money's going to come from, but whatever. But that's where we're at. And I don't know if we're figuring a 2.5% raise on payroll. What is the annual payroll, would you guess, for the county? 4 million?
I don't know.
The entire county?
Scott, what's the annual payroll?
Annual payroll for the county? I'm just, like, if it's 4 million and we're saying a 2.5% increase, well, now we're talking
In 2023, the entire county payroll was 6.4 million.
6 million. Okay. So if we say that's 3%, make math easy. So there's another
But that
180,000
was
we got to
2
come up
years
with.
ago?
I'm not in finance anymore, I'm off the track.
That's fine.
But-
I'm just saying that was 2 years ago, it's gone on.
But if we call it 6 million and we say it's a 3% increase, which, that's 180. So now we've got 180,000 in raises and 80,000 in health insurance. We just wiped out our $260,000 that we collected on the levy. So that's gone. And so what else, then what do we start doing to make up the difference? Those are the numbers that have been racking around in my brain for the last 3 months, is if we cap it out and we pass on we take our 10%, they do their 10%, and we give everybody their normal CPI raises, that's going to wipe out any increase on what we do for the levy. And we still don't have enough to even make the rest of the bills.
Are we still talking about revenue?
You got some?
Well, I have an idea,
Okay.
for what it's worth. As Don and Rita know, we got a proposal today from Lauterbach and Amen to do our 24, 25, and 26 audit. And so I'm guessing that'll be brought up for consideration at the finance meeting on October 15th. And assuming that that engagement is agreed upon, I think it might behoove, and this is a political thing, it might behoove somebody on the board to approach C.D. Davidsmeyer and Jill Tracy, who I believe are our representatives, right? And say, hey, 21 audits done, 22 audits almost done, 23 audit is in progress, and we have a contract in hand for 24, 25, and 26. So we're back on track, we're contractually obligated, and we're off to get all this taken care of. So would you please have your people talk to Susan Mendoza's people and get us back on the pay list?
Can I interrupt you a second? Scott, what was that letter you got today for the fines that are going to be imposed?
Yeah, that's Susan Mendoza's office, and what that is, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, you got a communication from the Treasurers Association saying that the comptroller's office has laid down a new rule from this point forward that any county that doesn't have paperwork into them on a timely basis, it's going to cost you real cash money in a fine.
They say how much?
No.
I'm kind of surprised to hear that they're just gonna start that now.
Yeah.
Because about 2 years ago, my fire department got $1,800 fine because of not having our paperwork in on time
Okay, to the comptroller?
to the comptroller.
Okay, well, it's official now.
Because they charge you per day
Yeah.
for every day that you're behind.
Well, this apparently is for counties. Maybe they had a different rule for
The
fire.
same letter went out on township officials to all township leadership. The same one,
Yeah,
same email.
yeah. So anyway, my point is that I think we have some arguments from a political standpoint to get our people talking to her people and say, hey, get us off the list.
And I have talked to CD, I haven't talked to Tracy or anyone in her office, but they are, I mean, CD, I believe, is willing to intervene for us. We just need to talk to him again, because at that point, and I don't know if they have yet, have they told us they accept our 21 audit?
Yeah,
Is that unusual?
nothing's unusual with the state of Illinois.
And with it probably being that far behind, they're probably gonna nitpick it.
They're probably going through it with the county control.
Yeah, they're gonna nitpick it.
There is one good point that at their discretion. So they could waive that fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it's all politics, but, so anyway, that's an idea, because golly gee, I mean, we're losing out on lots and lots and lots of money. I mean, just to give you an example, Judge Wessel comes over here once a month on a peer review for conflict cases, and he's in Cass County, and he tells me that, they have Jill Tracy and Noreen Hammond on speed dial over there, and they're in good graces with the state, and Jill Tracy called them up last year and said, hey, I got this $900,000 grant, and I got to spend it or I'm going to lose it. Would you guys like it? Yeah, please. And they used it to upgrade the sheriff's department and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, yeah, believe it or not, the state of Illinois has all kinds of grant money, and we just need
We
to.
have $450,000 that is earmarked for us if we can ever get off this list.
Yeah, well, that's my point. I think we're going to have some good arguments that hopefully we can advance to say, hey, we've made great progress. You know, we can't turn this around in a week. Please give us some consideration because we're doing everything we're supposed to do to get it back on the beam. So that's the one idea. And then the other one I'll just float out there is, because I've been checking around. I wasn't around when the marijuana plant was built in Barry, but I know that other counties have some type of contractual deals with those type facilities that they get significant fees. And I don't know if that was something that we could have done when they built it, or if it's something that we can still do, but I've been looking into that. So if anyone, I wasn't around when they built it, so I,
Well, the deal they had with the city was based off of revenue, so they had to hit certain revenue marks before that revenue kicked back to the city of Barry.
yeah, and the one I'm talking about is Logan County. They have a agreement based on revenue, and it brings in significant money. So those are the only two ideas I know of.
Do you, Derek, have any idea where the taxes are on these new windmills?
Nah, it would be, I don't.
I can
think they're
tell
anywhere.
you,
Oh,
I can
the
tell
wind-
you the, out of the, whatever you call the marijuana facility in Barry, Pike County gets a whopping $20.
Okay. Your question on the windmill, I looked at that, and for better or worse, they're in the enterprise zone, so you won't be getting any tax money off of that for 10 years.
That's the last I heard.
Jim, I've got your guys' salary numbers, for your total salary numbers. 2024 was 6.756 million, and then 2025 is gonna average out. I just ran it through a 24 pay period average, so it should be 6.784 million. But obviously not general fund only.
Yeah.
That's total.
Could you say 2024 again, please?
6.756.
No, I agree with Walker's statement about getting ourselves off that no-pay list. Unfortunately, most of those grant opportunities will not support general fund expenses. So it's still, we still got work to do.
The only good thing about it is hopefully they can cover some expenses. Whoever gets that grant money can divert other things around for
Absolutely.
it.
But-
Which, like I said, it's grants, you can never count on 100% because they're not always gonna be there.
Walker, did you find out about the interest on some of those accounts, if that's retrievable, on those CDs that the county has?
Well, I didn't do a detail, but I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it is. You can sweep it.
I would say do it and ask for forgiveness. It's like.
Do you know how much is there?
Like I brought it up months ago just because that just makes sense that
Yeah,
it's interest revenue. It's
yeah,
not, it's not
you
dedicated
can
to-
sweep it. I believe that's correct, yeah.
Does anybody know how much it would be?
I did some quick math on this. I mean, if it's a 650, or what was it, $600,000? And
Casey said his was 20 to 30,000 a year.
Yeah, so I was gonna say $30,000 a year if it's 5%. So that's, I mean,
Most of them are run for.
yeah, they're lower, they're gonna be lower now.
Now, 414 is what I heard.
Yeah, we missed our good opportunity when we were making a talk.
Radio was just 4.
So if you're talking 4%, yeah, you're talking 24,000. And that was just off the 600,000 names. I think there's a couple more sitting out there.
And it's, ETSB, that one's gonna be, I don't know about that one because that is regulated by the state and how that's done. So that was it, I don't know about that.
I just feel like it's a good option. You can do it with a clean conscience. You're not taking any revenue away from those departments. They still have all the revenue they earn from the tax levy. And you took the whipped cream off their sundae. That's all.
So are we saying we pretty much have consensus to to do that and list that as a revenue source? Tom shaking his head no.
Yes. It's interesting.
And it's not just ambulance.
Yeah.
There's
It's
the,
not just ambulance, I agree, but I just know what their factors are coming up
Yeah, and I agree.
and what they're gonna be needing in the next couple of years.
And I think if we get it shored up, man, once we get it shored up and the CD owned by the department goes back, we can give it right back to them once we get out of the boiling pot, you know?
Oh, I agree, but I have issues.
I'll support you 100%, so,
I have issues, at least on that side of it.
yeah, I agree.
Because
And
I
see
mean,
why.
the equipment we gotta have is not cheap.
Yep, I 100% agree, and I see why, but I mean, in
But
tough times.
I
you
also
gotta make-
see our side of it on finances
Yeah,
too.
tough times call for desperate measures. Whereas,
Derek, could you go over the insurance numbers again?
Um,
We paid, I got written down 800,000, was that last year?
Yeah, I'm figuring that it's going to cost us around 800,000, or that's what I believe the county is paying for its portion of the health insurance premium.
And then you mentioned a 10%. Was we talking about employee versus us? Was that what that was?
Talking about basically passing the whole 9% increase.
Oh, passing the 9?
What,
We take our share and they take their share.
what would that look like to an employee there?
For if we do
pass along the,
pass along the whole thing?
yeah.
Well, so for example, an employee only for the $700 deductible, or the more comprehensive one, their payroll deduction is $272 a month. Without increasing our contribution, it goes to $382. So it takes $110 a month hit. So, you know, if we split that, I mean, or if we do the 10 and they, so it wouldn't, well, okay. So it's a difference between a 10% increase being $27 to them or $110 to them. I mean, if we do only a 10% increase on 272, that's $27. So we pick up the other 80 and something. So, but where it really hurts is like when you get into the families, you know, families $1,172 and it would go up to $1,431. So, and right now, I mean, even my personal, I don't know what the heck the government's doing with subsidies and individual policies. I'm right now on an individual policy getting a subsidy, but now if they get rid of the subsidy, then I'm like, I might have to do a 2-person group. I mean, so I do this for a living and I'm not quite sure where the heck the health insurance industry is going because we're on a shutdown and they can't seem to make up their minds if we're going to keep the subsidies, not how much they're going to be. But my point to saying that is that there was the option to where dependents could break off of a group insurance and still potentially qualify for a subsidy if they went to the marketplace. So there would have been something potentially less expensive than being on the group insurance. So, I mean, there might have been other opportunities, but that's where we run into the problem of if we do an open enrollment in October, but the marketplace open enrollment doesn't start till November, do they even have that option to say, I've already signed up in my open enrollment in October, but I can get a better deal over here and get a subsidy for it, but I can't get out of it because I already signed up in my open enrollment. Normally, if you have the opportunity to other insurance, they'll let you off the plan, but I don't know how the Hope Trust is written to where if they would let you do that or not. But
How many employees were told on our roster? Do you remember?
how many employees are on our health insurance? Hang on a second.
What's the county's current contribution?
Right now, the county, so that one that I said the employee was at 272, the county picks up 948. An employee spouse at 891, the county picks up 1550. Employee child 776, the county picks up 1411, and the family on that plan at 1172, the county picks up $1,710 a month. On the HSA plans, it's actually kind of worse if I'm seeing it correctly. In single is 150, the county pays 983. geez, that just doesn't seem like it's right, but then 624, the county pays 1642, employee child 526, the county pays 1428, and on a family 853, and the county pays 1844. So the county's actually paying, if I'm seeing this correctly, it looks like the county's paying more for the HSA than they do for the better plan. So, and then we have 10 people that are down on the HRP too, that county's paying $450, I think, right now, or something like that for each one of those.
Oh, see that Tom? Yeah, okay.
Do you hear the look on mine? Any other math you want me to do? I'm happy to plug numbers in.
Do we have the option to change this?
Well, that's what I was talking about. So if we don't increase it, that's where it was at 272 and goes to 382.
No, I mean the 71500.
No, we already went through that.
Okay.
But that's what we did the survey about. We offered it to the employees and said, do you
So
guys
that's
want to
where
look
we're
at?
at.
Yeah, so that was what the employees chose to do. So that's what we're staying with. And I don't necessarily fault them because the alternatives that were offered, it seemed like there was a lot more out of pocket and there just wasn't a significant enough savings difference in the premium. So I don't blame them for staying with what they had.
What's the marketplace, is it still all over as far as individuals going out to get their own health insurance plans?
It's kind of an unknown right now. I mean, Health Alliance got out of the market effective January 1. We're going to the Get Covered Illinois instead of the marketplace through the feds. I'm supposed to go to a training tomorrow to figure out what that even looks like. And then they're saying even though whatever we do for the beginning of the year, it might change in the middle of the year. So I can't even really help anybody or give them any direction on what they need to do after the first of the year because that's so up in the air.
Go ahead.
So are we trying to figure out what we're gonna do with the 9%, county eat it versus employee eating it? Or are we talking about, are we gonna continue the county's current contribution and then the increase we do different? I mean.
Pass it to the employee. Right. Is that what you're saying, Mark?
So, but we're gonna continue the current contribution?
Well, right. So the current contribution on a single plan, we'll say is $948. Instead of us taking a $94 increase, and the employee takes a $27 increase, that $94 increase would go with the 27, and the employee takes.
So we're just talking about the 9%?
But you're talking about the 9%?
So we're just talking about the 9%?
Yeah, we're talking about taking the 9%.
He's saying we're not talking about reducing what we currently,
Right.
what the county currently contributes.
Yeah, I was trying to keep the county's portion that we're paying for health insurance where it is, not lower it.
Gotcha.
But the increase that the whole plan took,
Gotcha.
unfortunately, would be passed on to the employee. And even in that situation, so if we go to, well, so an example, you got a single person that's on that more comprehensive plan. Well, their plan is 272 right now, and it goes to 382. But the HSA plan goes from 150 to 252, but the employee could say, well, wait a minute, I could go ahead and switch to that HSA plan, and it may be actually $20 a month less than what I was paying on the other one. So there's that option that the employee could do. Now, of course, that's a higher deductible and so forth compared to what we're used to having.
Right.
But I've been doing this for 30 years. Employers are always having a problem with just trying to make ends meet and figure out how much they can afford to give out. And these are the type of things that they're doing. They're trying to offer more plans, or they're trying to shop it out, raise deductibles, raise out of pockets, just to find any way to lower those premiums. But now we're stuck. I mean, we've got to stay with the two plans that we have right now. We've renewed that. We've told the Hope Trust that's what we're doing. So it's a matter of what can we do for what the county wants to contribute.
Are you saying, Mark, that something that should be on the table would be for the county to reduce its current portion?
No, I was just making sure I understood what the debate was
Okay.
about. Are we talking about the
Passing-
9%.
He's talking about passing along the increase to the
Right,
employee.
but I wanted to
All
make
of it.
sure that,
Right.
Yeah.
are we maintaining our current contribution?
Yeah, we would maintain the current contribution. So the total premium for that single plan I was just talking about was $1,220 and it went to $1,330. So I'm saying pass the $110 increase to the employee, but we
Yeah.
continue paying what we've always been paying.
I would agree with that.
But again, the same thing with the family. The family is going from 2882 to 3141, so they would take on that increase of that difference.
Unfortunately, in our current fiscal situation, I don't think there's any option.
I don't know.
That's just my opinion.
But you,
I agree. We could get out of the insurance business completely and just divvy up the 800,000 among our 90 employees. Anybody want to discuss that as an option?
We built the insurances in order for the employees to have a choice.
I get it, I understand.
And then we were hoping that they would take the higher deductible because it would save us too. And this may force them, in their minds, it may force them to make some changes. But that's up to them. You know, and they did say that they would prefer to stay with the policies we have.
I understand that, but it's,
Yeah.
right, we can't afford it. We can't, I mean, we're gonna put more cost on the employees anyway, we're taking a tremendous cost. We have that tough discussion where you say, I mean, I worked for an employer in the past where they just gave me, this is how much money you get towards a year towards health insurance, you go find your health insurance the best place you can. That way, if they can get on a spouse's insurance, that would give them the option of getting on spouse's insurance, because they don't have it offered through work. We can take a huge chunk of money and give it directly to them. Nobody wants to take the health insurance away, but do we need to discuss it?
Lance, I think that you are looking at that, I don't think you can, because we're an employer of over 50 people, you have to offer health insurance.
Or pay,
The only
or
county
pay a
right
penalty.
now I know that doesn't, I think is Calhoun, is there, I think, below that 50 threshold. I'm not, I just want you guys to check into it, because I'm pretty sure because we're over that 50, I think you have to have a group.
If you don't, you have to pay a penalty.
Yeah.
How much is
So-
the penalty?
Usually less than what would. There have been employers that say it's less expensive to pay the penalty. But Mark, to your point though, I think you and I are agreeing, it's like, let's pass it on, but now we're back to the FOP contract. We can't. The most we can do is 10%. And so we can't pass on a $27, I mean, we can't pass on a $110 increase. We can only pass on a $27 increase.
No, I think it's in there that you can't pass on more than that. There is a time frame that has to be.
You just have to provide notice, isn't it, Don? You have to provide notice.
Well, somebody a lot smarter than me is going to have to look at that contractor and figure out if, so.
Well, you would have to provide notice and then it reopens the insurance. But the flip side, if we increase the employee's contribution significantly, they're not gonna work for less. Your raise to them is gonna have to cover whatever their increased insurance cost is. They're gonna do, I guarantee you Rob Scott will do that math.
And in that point, it's cheaper to pay benefits and payroll, because then you have to do IMRF, Social Security and
Right.
everything, so you might as well pay the health insurance.
Every dollar pay increase costs you $1.20.
so I'm hearing no raises.
No, I didn't say that, I'm just saying whatever you. But, when it nets out, nobody at the sheriff's department is gonna work for less money than they are today. Take home. And that'll be a reality when we go and get into the nitty gritty.
I think whatever the increase is that we're getting charged needs to be passed on. Because last year we took a bigger hit of what the raise was in insurance premium. We didn't pass it all on. We didn't even pass a percentage on. Right, Jim?
We passed on,
We passed on 10%.
yeah, we
It
passed
cost
on
us
10%,
14.
but it was not equal to the increase, no.
It cost us 14, we passed 10.
Yeah, no, on the FOP contract, you can increase 10% a year. And you have to give them 30 days notice if you're going to do that.
But
So you can't go over 10% with the FOP people.
And here's the other kicker, we deduct premiums a month in advance. So
Yeah.
technically, that change would take effect on the December 10th payroll. So I'm assuming, and this is more a Rhett Markey question,
Right.
they're gonna have to know 30 days before that deduction comes out of their check.
Yeah.
November 10th, well, you still get it. The regular employees, because they open enrollment, you gotta be done by November 1st.
so, again, I did not mean to complicate this issue. I wanted to try and bring it before the full board so they could see all the numbers and at least look at what the options were and say, here's what the differences are. But we may be stuck doing what we've always done, but I didn't want to make that call, so. Sure, Chris.
When you're talking about insurance raises or employee pay raises, I just want to make sure you look at department pay, and it's a separate, like our department is separate from the general fund, the ambulance is different. Just so it's not lumped all in together. Because a lot of the insurance is totally paid by departments. I don't know what that percentage is, but I just hope to take that into consideration.
Well, you've got, how many of your employees out there? 9 on the insurance, Chris?
I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
How many of your employees are on the insurance?
I believe 5 or 8. Counting.
Okay. Kim, I don't suppose you know your number off the top of your head?
She's been out.
Oh, she stepped out, I'm sorry.
6, Kim, 6.
6. Okay, well, I couldn't come up with, without Casey here, I couldn't come up with the number anyways, but
I think the health department has 16 and ambulance has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, but that was based off of 3-4 months ago, so it may have changed. You don't think there's that many now? Okay.
roughly a third. Ambulance, highway, health, okay. Means
And I'm just going to throw this out there. I look at the health department, highway, ambulance, they're kind of their own profit centers, for lack of something better. I don't know if what we decide as a board really holds true with, can the health department say, well, we want to put more towards the health insurance premium than the county's allowing? And if they take it out of their budget? Or can ambulance say, hey, we're going to give $900 towards health insurance instead of $800? I mean, because that doesn't affect our general fund.
That sounds like collective bargaining to me.
It could be, but I just, it seems difficult to where I feel sometimes as a board, we're trying to make these decisions for an entire county, but everybody's kind of siloed and they all kind of have their own little rules and their own, sometimes they have their own little budgets and their own revenue streams that they may be able to do something different that the general fund can't do. And I don't know if that would be handled in employee handbooks or that type of thing to where, no, we have to treat everybody the same, or if everybody joins a union, so then therefore you know what it is. I don't have an answer to that, but I'm just throwing things out.
Well, I believe that would probably make a larger headache for payroll.
once it's in at once, it would not be a problem. First payroll is gonna be a fun one, but
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the onboarding for new hires, you're going to have to make sure, well, where do you work at again? Oh, well, yours is this. I mean, but that usually is handled at a department level, I would think, so they would know what their benefits are when they're hiring their new employee.
that may, again, go back to the whole FOP pays the same thing. And
Well, and is it, which employee? General fund employee, a health department employee? Which same are they referring to?
I think it says county, but it's been,
Yeah, if you're a county employee, you're a county employee.
yeah.
The better of which one it is, then, I guess.
I will also throw this out there, for Affordable Care Act reporting purposes, we have to report continuously on what the premiums are, how much employees pay. So there's a lot of upkeep that we do that we're reporting individually on. And I would encourage you guys to look at possible discrimination differences and charging differences for different departments that are under the same tax ID number. Because we're reporting the exact same number for the Affordable Care Act, but if I'm reporting different rates for different classes, I think that, and that would be a rep question, but I would encourage you guys to look at that before.
And there's a possibility that depending on incomes, if we actually raise them as much as we do, then we could, I mean, if somebody's like, that's too expensive, I'm going to go to the marketplace. And this is for the employee only. It's not to do with their dependents. But okay, the individual policy is too expensive. I'm going to go to the marketplace. I get a subsidy. Then ACA can come back and say, okay, well, we gave a subsidy to this person. I think you can get up to 20. You can have 20 employees under your plan that could get a subsidy. But after that, then that goes back to that penalty thing that you didn't offer an affordable plan. But the other thing about an affordable plan is, I can't remember, but I think they pick like a much higher deductible than what we're offering to try and figure out what that price is. So do you remember how ACA does that? Did they?
No, and I'll brush up on it though,
Okay.
I'll let you know, because it's on our list, because they also just changed something too with it. And the reporting's fairly new for all of us. I think we're only in like our second year of doing our annual or our monthly reporting with it.
So I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that I know that's another thing, that if employees say, hey, I can find something less expensive and get a subsidy for it, then ACA, it'll be reported back to us, but
It
it's,
says that $43.50 in the penalty for a full-time employee.
how much?
$43.50 per full-time employee who receives a premium tax credit.
So that's less than the 10,000.
It's still less, yeah, we'd still be money ahead of it. If we dropped it for everybody and paid the penalty, it'd be $286,200 in penalty. But it'd actually be less than that because the first 30 people are exempt,
No, it's 30. I thought it was 20, but.
excluding the first 30. So,
And I'm not proposing that at all, but there are employers out there that have done it to say, they didn't want to be in the insurance business to start with. You know, whatever we offer is never good enough and too expensive. So it's like, okay, here you go. Yeah.
I think that would be something that we'd have to look into at the next chance to rebid.
yeah, I know.
Let me break in, would a possible consensus point to give Brett be that, given our situation with the lack of funds, that we would feel the need to pass on the increase from Hope Trust this year to the extent the contract allows us to?
Yes.
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 Is there any way, Derek, with your spreadsheet there, we can quantify what that would be?
Well, again, that has to do with it. Are we just doing it for the FOP people or are we doing it for everybody?
I think we need to do that for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's 80 grand. I mean, we got to come up with another $80,000 for that. I mean, I know it's 9.8 or 9 point whatever it is, but I'm just rounding up 800,000.
But I mean, do you
10%.
have anything that would say the impact on the employees?
Well, 10%. So that single person would go, or that single person would go up $27. So if they're paying $272 out of their check now, it'll be another $27 on that.
300 for the payment.
Yeah.
So what we would do is we would take the current rate sheet that you guys were looking at, we would do the adjustments on 10% for each plan that is offered, and then we would forward that on to the labor attorney, so he would have it to be able to pass on to the FOP for them to be able to look at.
So,
Yeah, that's right.
so,
We're increasing our contribution as well,
Yeah.
right?
How much would be left then for us, for the county?
what do you mean left? I mean, if we're-
Well, I thought you guys were saying that we can't pass on the entire increase. The contract won't let us do that.
Right, we could only raise what their in contribution was by 10%. So they would go up by $27 and we would go up by the 83. If I'm doing that right, 110. So yeah, we would pay 10% more on our side and they'll pay 10% more on their side.
As long as we go up 80,000.
Okay.
And those figures could change if some of the employees decide to change policies.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but that $27, I don't think it's going to be enough to swing people to the other one. I mean, before, if it was going 382 or,
But the 300
But-
may,
$100.
oh yeah, right, that's, I mean, they might look at it that way. But
or we're eliminating the HSA may switch policies, or the family going up 300 may eliminate that, which is a significant amount.
And I would encourage you, as you guys start going through these negotiations, get a lot more specific on what the language is. Is it 10% on all policies? I mean, there are employers out there that say, here's our base policy, and this is what we pay for X amount of dollars. So if you have in a contract, it won't be 10% more than this. Sometimes, even though the Hope Trust has been pretty unilateral to where they increase all policies the same, other companies sometimes will say, this plan had more utilization, so we're going to give it a 10% increase, but this one got a 15% increase. So employers will sometimes say, here's our base plan we're basing all of our contributions off of, and then offer alternatives up or down from there. So I would suggest you maybe look at that specific language in the contract for future. So that way it's, and then maybe even say what, all other employees, okay, being specific, what employees are we looking at? Because if we have multiple unions in here, we'd have two. I don't know that they negotiate the same contract. I mean, could one negotiate, we're going to do more than this one? And if that's the case, then so.
And I know that before, for an example, the highway committee would make a recommendation to the full board for pay increases there. And I believe the ambulance would do the same. And I think every time I've heard it, it's been different.
What do you mean different, Mark?
The committee would recommend a percent increase or a dollar amount increase for like the highway department. And the committee for ambulance would do the same thing. And they may be different numbers. And then they bring them to full board.
Percentage wise.
Yeah.
I mean, highway might
Well-
look at 6, where the ambulance might only look at 2.53.
Well, I'd like for each department to look at what they can do 10% without. Whether it's, or 5%, whatever.
We can do that for them.
Well, I know, but what can you do with that?
And we're past it now, but for next year when we go through this again, I would encourage, with everybody's permission, maybe we get an alternate base plan from Hope Trust and say, okay, here's a $2,500 deductible plan, and that's going to be the plan we start with. You can buy up and pay the difference if you want to keep the one that you've got, but we need to pick a plan that's what we're going to base all of our contributions on. So I've seen other employers do that too. So not trying to take things away from employees, but say, hey, we got to draw a line in the dirt and say, this is a plan we're going to base everything off of. We'll have maybe, I don't know that they could do 3 plans, but maybe we have a high deductible below here and a much lower deductible up here, and you've got 3 different options you can move up or down from. So.
Oh, I believe that they would possibly work on 3. I don't know that that's a major problem.
They should be able to. I mean, it's.
In that situation, I would recommend that you get them here, you get some employees. There's some employees that'd be more than happy to come in and discuss it too, but have a discussion with all 3 parties. And it may take a while. I understand that, but you can build whatever policies you want.
And to that point, I want to be clear because I think there's been a misconception. I've made the comment, I don't care about the health insurance. I don't care what health insurance plan the employees take. Hope Trust, Blue Cross, it doesn't matter. I don't care which plan they're on. I'm just trying to find the most economical plans that we can afford to offer, but still would be good insurance. So if somebody's taking it to where employees feel that I don't care about the health insurance, I want it to be good insurance, but I don't care what plan or what policy or companies you guys go with. It's just always been about hopefully which one's giving us the best deal for the right price. And so that's why I think it's always important to try and look and just make sure, so.
Can I, since we're trying to end by 8, and we've got a little less than 20 minutes, can I just confirm that for now, what we might propose is that the Hope Trust increase for this year, we pass that on to the employees to the extent the contract allows. Natalie will run those numbers, get them to Rhett
Yeah, I'll send it to all you guys. too.
at the same time.
I just want to clarify that too, that also includes the county's $150 contribution to the HSA, correct? Okay.
Wait,
So
what?
we
Do
are,
we need to calculate our costs on that?
That's part of the FOP that's how it currently is. So to not contribute that, that would also be another renegotiation factor.
I disagree. The contract does not specifically say anything in it about a health savings account contribution, nor was health savings accounts even available when that contract was written.
It says it must continue the current health and wellness benefits that were offered at the time of inception. That's considered a health and wellness benefit.
Nope. The health
We
insurance,
litigate that with our labor attorney, he also disagrees.
we need a different term. One is not tied to the other. You have to have one product. You have to have the health insurance plan in order to even be able to do the health savings account. So it doesn't make any sense to say, oh, well, now we put this plan in place, so it by extension now includes the $150 we were paying.
Derek, I'm not arguing with you. What I'm telling you is I'm asking for clarification on how you need to type this up and send this on, but I'm also reiterating to you that I have had this very specific conversation, and I received a very specific answer from council, and I'm sorry that you don't like it. I don't necessarily care for it either, I guess, but that was the answer that we got.
Then to that point, I suppose it could be only attributed to the FOP employees.
I think then you're in discrimination territory again.
Nope, you're in a collective bargaining agreement again. That's a contract for those specific employees that are classed out from the other employees.
It says it must be offered to the rest of the employees as well.
Our FOP contract says that we have to offer the same benefits to the rest of the employees.
Yeah, at the same rate.
I thought it said that we have to offer the FOP the same rate as we do the rest of the employees.
Or you
Yes.
can't increase
Yes.
FOP more than you do your other employees. That's
You have to
what
offer
it
the same
is.
benefits and you have to offer it the same rate.
I don't see how the FOP contract can extend to the non-employees. They aren't covered by the FOP contract. How does it extend that direction? It only goes one direction.
Again, those are discussions the labor committee could probably be having with our labor attorney, but these are discussions I have had with our labor attorney. I'm just telling you what he says. Just trying to help out here. And I understand if you guys disagree, and that's fine. And you guys can totally litigate it. You can try and take that clause out of the FOP contract. You can try and renegotiate it entirely. I'm just trying to tell you what we found out based upon this, and at some point in time, it's obviously been agreed upon.
would it, just to move it forward, would it be too much trouble for you to run the numbers both ways?
I don't mind doing it, but that's gonna be the key question on who's gonna pick what plans.
Right.
It's gonna be pointless because that's gonna be probably the catalyst on what plans.
But it would give us more information and something to talk with him about, talk with Red about.
Can you get that answer right, Brett?
Yes.
But I'd also
Well,
like,
I think the labor committee needs to be dealing, Brett's been dealing with a lot, so I think that we can let the chair of the labor committee work with Brett on this. And I think the labor committee just needs to meet and get these answers hashed out.
I think we're gonna have to put it in there for insurance purposes for now.
Yeah.
If we like the insurance purposes or not. And then if it's something that
Then
we
you
can
can
negotiate
remove it.
out of the contract, we're good.
Yeah.
If it's something that we can't negotiate out of the contract, we'll have to use more.
No, I don't think you can, in talking with him, I don't believe you can offer something and then go backwards on what you've offered.
not during negotiations.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's,
If,
but it's gotta be put in there though, because it's part of the program now. We could pull it out in negotiations if it's agreed upon between the two groups.
if you don't have a tentative agreement between the two, then it can be taken out.
But if they still want that language, then it's gonna cost you.
Right.
You know, there's a price to get rid of it.
So just so we have more, would you mind doing it both ways, just so we have the numbers? I appreciate that. And then, so that's one point that we'll move forward on. If I can go back, I would just like to say, I've tried to look up the truth in taxation. And what it says is that we must estimate the amount of money needed for property taxes at least 20 days prior to adoption of the final annual levy. So it depends on when we think we're going to finally adopt it, but we've got to estimate it 20 days before. And it does talk about doing it beforehand and collecting public comment. This doesn't envision you doing it after you've finalized the levy. It says you've got at least 20 days prior to adoption of the final annual levy. If we were going, if I counted correctly, if we were going to vote on this at the October board meeting, 20 days by my count would be tonight. If we can do it in November, at the November meeting, then obviously we've got more time. But how do we finalize the budget without finalizing the levy?
Well, we did it last year.
But last year wasn't correct.
Well, but again, the only really drop dead is you gotta have the final levy number to the county clerk by the end of December. Last Tuesday in December, I think it's worded. And so, yeah, I mean, you wanna do it correct, but there's real drop dead dates and dates that you can wiggle on. And the real drop dead date is the last Tuesday of December.
There is case law that verifies that because if you do not have your levy verified by your 20 days prior, it doesn't invalidate your levy.
It does say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But I don't know that we want to shoot to
well, no, I
do it wrong.
I agree, but I mean, the ideal thing is that it's all approved on November 24th.
I think we've all learned that if we pass a levy that doesn't agree with our budget, we just need to have a budget amendment early as opposed to waiting all year. So.
All right, so I'd like to summarize real quick that I've been saying all along that the two expensive things in a business are employees and benefits. From what I'm hearing, we're basically going to just increase the benefits like we were going to anyway. So there's not going to be any savings on the benefit side, it doesn't sound like. So
Our levy increases a wash.
well, the levy increase is going to be a wash, and we still got to try and make up $1 million. So next is payroll. I mean, we can only cut so many supplies and staples and paper and whatever else, but if we want to sit there and try and get to that large of a number, we got to start looking at where the large number's at. We just talked about 6.4 million. So people may get raises, but there may not be as many people there to get them. I don't know how you get around that.
get down to the nitty gritty in the next budget meeting.
I will reach out to the departments that haven't gotten me their budgets yet. They need to get me what they want, at least, and then that way we'll have a whole picture to look at, see what the final damage is. I'll change the numbers on the general fund part for the health insurance and raise that to the 880 instead of the 800. The HSA is costing us 90,000, but the departments pay part of that, so I can't remember what the net was on that. I think it's maybe about 50 grand it costs the general fund. I assume we're going to continue doing the HRP the way it was, so that's still going to be the way it was. So we really didn't save anything on the benefit side. We gave it our best shot, tried to find some different options, but we're still going to be stuck. So,
Do you have a revised number handy there of what the expenses would be with the latest numbers you've included
no,
from
give
your
me some time
spreadsheet?
to work that out.
Okay,
But-
that's fine.
And I will also reshare the link with all board members on all of the spreadsheets I'm working with. I apologize if you haven't been able to see them, but to me, this is saving trees and not printing stuff out, and it's real time. I'm changing this as I go, so if you guys are bored at night, you want to pull it up, you can see it. I think it's a little more interactive than just trying to do it once a week. So I'm sorry if that's not how most people are used to it or don't like it that way, but I am trying to do the best I can to make it as accurate as possible, as quickly as possible. So
Is that put into CIC?
what's that?
Are those put into CIC?
I wish, but I hadn't gotten back to you to say my username and password still doesn't work. So I didn't want to bother you with the trouble. So I've been just working off the spreadsheet, but
Oh, I mean, no, just send me an email and I doubt it's something that I can fix. I can reset your password, but that's all that I can necessarily do. It might be something that Tiger Hawk has to do.
okay. I mean, I'll work because I continue to say the more I could put in there for you, then the less you're going to have to worry about down the
I
road.
mean, really, Derek, it takes me like 3 hours to do the entire budget.
Oh,
I'm concerned that you guys thought it was actually gonna be really beneficial if you spent a lot of money on it, and it really doesn't. It doesn't generate a budget, I think, like you guys were told that it did.
Yeah, I was hoping it would pull prior data from the prior year into the worksheet, so I wasn't going to have to re-enter everything.
That would
And
be really helpful. And I agree, I wish it did.
but you don't know that if it does, or
It never has, no, it does not.
okay. Well, if you don't mind, I'll call you tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
Rita, I would think if you could possibly get a hold of C.D. Davidsmeyer and Jill Tracy, and with the information that Walker said on the agreements with the audit company for all those years, and even if you have to send them a copy of the agreement so that they can go to the comptroller's office on our behalf.
I will.
Thank you. I think that would,
And I'll also add, I know when they closed session, Jen, my wife, had saw in there that CD had that $100,000 that had been earmarked and approved for us. I don't remember under what parameters, but I know it's been in the budget.
There's two grants that, they've got them separated. One's 350,000, the other's 100,000.
Okay, so I think okay, so you're on top of that then. And then who would be in charge of collecting the leash contract?
Those come from, so my office fills those out.
Okay, I don't see that Pittsfield has paid theirs.
They don't, because they deduct off of theirs any improvements that they do to the building. So they probably put more improvements onto the building than what they have. But I will follow up with them.
Okay, because normally I was looking at that and it's like 22 or 23,000 and it's only 19, and I think theirs is like $4,000. So when I looked through the details to figure out who'd paid, that looked like the one that had been missing. So
Yeah, it's because,
Okay.
So when the city doesn't, so the city owns the animal shelter. So whenever there are improvements, they deduct that off of what their co-hearing contract is. So that number's gonna fluctuate based upon what improvements are done, whatever that year is.
So do you believe I should lower that by maybe 4,000 for next year, just in case they do it again?
Don't. I would probably look at your past 3 or 4 years and see what the average is.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have you done your Josh one for his?
No, I haven't yet. For ESDA, yes, no, I haven't talked to him yet, so. I think I still had it from when, yeah, if I don't, I'll text you if you can get it.
The other thing Jim had suggested with regard to Josh is questioning whether we're showing any federal reimbursement there.
We're not,
Because I think at this point, we're not.
we're not getting, we haven't even getting anything back from state or federal,
And is that because he's not submitting the paperwork?
because we're on no pay.
Well, that wouldn't apply to federal.
Still does note on some of it, yes. Yeah, you can still put in the paperwork, if they put you on no pay list, you're still, your paperwork not really going away.
The federal funds match the state funds or something.
They don't. And a lot of the federal money is when it's classified as a disaster, and we get reimbursements for that. Most of it's just local state money.
At this point, and I'm sorry, I'm switching, but I just want to honor the time. On the salaries and raise increases, I don't remember who, but some were talking about not being able to offer raises next year. Is that something we want to throw out as a start, or how do folks? I realize that coupled with more insurance withholding is significant.
Yeah, it's gonna be a,
But at the same time, having $1 million deficit, where do you get the money for a raise?
well, Chris is kind of in his own little world out there. Ambulances in their own little world out there too. So I'm pretty sure that those two are going to be able to do raises. A lot of it depends on contract negotiations with the ambulance also. So they're pretty well self-sufficient out there. I know Chris is too. You know, he does get some money back from the general fund, but and through the landfill, whatever. But I'm hoping that our employees look at what we've got and not base off of like what Chris's raises could possibly be, what the ambulance's raises are possibly being, or what our FOP. I mean, not everybody's gonna get a substantial increase in pay. I hope they understand that. I mean, I'd love to be able to give people raises, but, you know, you kinda gotta be able to, your office has gotta be able to support that, help support that raise.
The highway committee will have a say in the amount of raises highway employees get.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so
like I said, negotiations with the ambulance, you know, that's
Yeah.
just something we'll have to deal with when it comes to that point in time, but.
Have you done different raise rates for non-union departments in the past?
we try not to, but I think there have been.
Okay.
I think it's been typical for the highway to be more in line with the sheriff's and ambulance raises than it has necessarily with the courthouse.
I don't know what last year's raises were in the courthouse. I don't remember, do you remember, Jim? Was it 750? 850?
For some reason, I thought it'd be.
One last thing, I would like to reach out to Rat and see if he can come and meet with us. Would,
That's when our chairman just needs to set the date up so that we can have our third meeting.
would you also be okay with including the board members? Again, I have a problem understanding how the labor committee can do it without
I
finance.
think you need to come and set in a labor committee meeting with just the labor board and you and Ray. The first one. Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, we can't have everybody there to do this.
Because they're not public meetings.
Rita, you need to.
It's a whole different animal when it comes to.
You need to meet with them so you can understand the process.
Yeah.
that process is so much different than just talking with everybody, and it needs to be separate.
And I trust the labor committee.
Okay.
And I'll tell you right now, when we go into negotiations, rec will be doing the talking. We as members, you as chairman, chairperson, how you want to be, we gotta make sure our mouths are shut. We can let him do his job. We can discuss when those two groups separate, and rec will sit down and talk to us and discuss that. But us sitting there, him and their representative will be the ones speaking. So we have to be really careful not to open our mouths and stick our foot in it.
And undercut, right?
And undercut it. And because Rhett's done this, he does it for many, many places in the state of Illinois. And he knows what he's doing.
You have an opportunity, if you want to sit by him, you can write on a notepad a question. If both groups are together.
Yeah.
Once they separate, you can talk freely.
Like I said, we just don't want to open our mouths and insert our foots.
Because
Let
that,
him do his job. That's all we pay him.
yeah, you'd start talking, it could cost the county a lot of money.
Yes, it could. And we don't need, like I said, last 3 years ago, when Rec come in there, we were done with FOP. 57 minutes. We were done.
I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem of, letting the attorney handle the negotiations. I've been in that kind of stuff with my job before with class action lawsuits and things. But I just remind people too, it's easy to be good when you've got money. It's not so easy when
But I'm going to tell you.
we don't have any money.
Brett knows our situation, which he does.
He
And we
does.
have some numbers for him.
Although he was confused a little the last time I talked with him. I think he thought our borrowing was more along the lines of the anticipation note. I don't think he realized the last borrowing was to actually cover deficits, and it's not just a cash flow issue. I think he does now.
And like I said, he works for us, and he will make sure he takes care of us, no matter what. 'Cause I seen him do it. So,
Does anyone have anything else? Any board members have anything? Anybody now?
Yeah, I just have one thing. I know that last week you guys asked about the IMRF numbers. June 6th or June 17th, I sent an email to all the finance committee and Jim, I CC'd you in it. You guys have all of the preliminary rate notices for IMRF. So check your inbox, you got it on June 17th. So you should be able to calculate your IMRF contributions.
I saw the rate, but I didn't know what salary to apply, or how much salary to apply each rate to. Was that in,
So you take your SLEP
Uh-huh.
is your sheriff's department,
right?
and then everybody else is your 4.5. Well, everybody else is your 7.5.
But how do I know how much salary the sheriff's department is compared to everybody else? Where's that number?
Jim, how did you,
I just took the budget for next year.
okay, so you would take the budget, then you would take your budget times your,
So it's 26, you take the 1.82 million times whatever the select rate is.
But where'd the 1.82 million come from?
That's what they
budget
gave
number.
us last week.
Okay, so what they budget,
Yeah.
not what.
Budgeted salary for ABC.
Well, respectfully, I know that sometimes the salaries that are on our budget aren't really what's being paid, so. It's close enough then?
It's close enough, and
Okay.
and as long as that overtime number is out of those three packages, because overtime is not subject to IMRF.
it is for tier 1, it's
For
not
tier
tier 2.
Sorry.
But that's the problem, because it's all lumped into one line item for the sheriff's department. So you have tier 1 and tier 2 mixed together, so you don't know what qualifies and doesn't qualify.
So it's a little money.
Yeah.
So yes,
But the other thing, Derek, the reason why those numbers are different, and I think this is something to consider, is that you don't know what employees are cashing in vacation time, you don't know what employees leave during the year, so that's why those numbers are gonna fluctuate a little bit. I don't necessarily know that it's all salary based, it's all gonna be it's compensation levels that don't necessarily revolve around your flat base salary.
okay.
But honestly, I think that 625 is gonna be within 10 to 15,000 what it actually is.
Okay. You said 625?
The 625 you had in last preliminary spreadsheet,
Okay.
I think is probably a solid number.
Yeah.
I mean, you can run the math, but I think it's solid.
Scott, Chris, you have anything before we go? Scott, I would like to ask you something about my computer, if you got a minute before we break. Hearing nothing else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Tom, second. Don? Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? We're adjourned at 8:07.
I think. I'll put my
How you doing, Jerry?
in your bag. My bag's down. I didn't give you any table space, did I?
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
You
Thanks
sign
for the
that?
warning.
No, you don't have to. You don't want to. I won't be mad at you.
Yeah, what's my-
I just gotta go find somebody else's to sign the signature. No, she
Like
went,
your recon.
she went without her nails
But
on.
I probably won't see him before you see him. And I said, oddly enough,
One of those goes.
I talked to him, saw him.
Yep, I see.
Yeah, she was going to Jacksonville. Get nails done.
Well, I mean, the only possibility.
Here, she wait from me.